Welcome back to the show, everyone. Did you know that there is a physician's shortage? Here to talk to us about that, what that means, we have Sue Modell with Concerned Citizens. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is a topic we don't hear about very often.
Well, let me explain that. I represent Concerned Citizens, and I come on the show when I think there's time to talk about a very important speaker that we're having.
Okay.
So we're going to have a speaker on the physician shortage, as you mentioned, and I don't know if the audience can see this, but this is our AARP bulletin, which many of us belong to AARP, and we get this magazine every couple months. This is the January, February issue, and they had this article, "Where have all the doctors gone?" So Concerned Citizens Program Committee decided to pay a little bit more attention to that. We hadn't thought about it as a possible program. And to make a long story short, on June 3rd, we are going to have Dr. Connie Bartlett, who is the Secretary Treasurer, I guess she holds both those positions, of the Orange County Medical Association, talk to us about the physician shortage.
Does she specifically indicate what type of physician? What are they specializing in?
Well, there is, she does indeed, there is a general shortage. Many of us, however, have found, particularly if we move into a new area, coming into Laguna Woods, you will find that the greatest shortage is you want a primary care doctor. I mean, that's what we all need, right? First and foremost, the person that coordinates our medical care is what we call a primary care doctor or a family practitioner or an internist, something basic like that. Mm-hmm. And that's where the greatest shortage lies.
Is that right? So do we have any indication as to what is causing this?
Right. Well, there are lots of reasons. Both on, if I can put it this way, the supply side and the demand side are out of whack, and our economists will tell us that when that happens, you have a problem. So one of the reasons for the shortage is that we have a big bump of people, the baby boomers. They've been aging between about 2010 and 2030, or somewhere around there. We have more people aging than we had previously, because all these folks were born after the war. Couples delayed having children during the Depression and during the Second World War. And so then we had this baby boom. So those people have moved into old age, and unfortunately, old people need more medical care than younger people. So that has increased demand.
I see.
The other thing that's happened along with that is, due to the miracles of science, we're living longer, right? So maybe 25 years ago, lifespan was a little bit shorter. So they're keeping us going longer, so we need more of them.
Right. And I think also, too, there's a little bit of a burnout in the world of the physicians.
Well, now let's move to that. But then there's the matter of supply, okay? So on the one hand, there are more patients than there used to be. And then the second issue, which is actually a new development, you hit it on the head, is that physicians are retiring. They are burning out and leaving the profession sooner than they used to. I can tell you, for example, that when I was a child, or even a young adult, it was very unusual for a doctor to retire. They just loved their work, and they walk till they dropped or whatever. You would know people in their 70s, they were still practicing.
Sure.
Now, many of us have had the experience of getting the letter of retirement, in which your physician announces that he or she is giving up their practice, and you're thinking, I mean, I've had this personally. The first time it happened, my gynecologist, I don't think she was more than in her early 60s.
Really?
And she was retiring.
Do you think, Sue, that any of that has any correlation with how difficult it is to work with insurance companies? I know personally, I have family members in the medical field, and they just like, I don't want to do this anymore, simply for that reason.
Well, you're very perceptive. Insurance companies is certainly part of it. You could think about it more, I guess, in terms of the paperwork involved.
Right.
Actually, no, there's two things. I take that, but there's the paperwork, which is massive. According to this article, physicians might spend as much as 40% of their time on paperwork. Right. But it's also the case that insurance companies have begun cutting into the autonomy that physicians have. In other words, nowadays, many of us have had the experience, well, I really think you should have such and such a test, but we'll have to wait and see if it's approved.
Right.
Many specialties have guidelines which kind of determine what steps physicians should take in what order. And now we sort of have a new thing where increasing numbers of doctors are becoming employees. Now, my own physician here in Laguna Hills has become an employee of what's really a subdivision of United Health, which is like the third largest health provider in the world. This cuts down on the things you can do. You're now not a self-employed practitioner as physicians used to be, and many still are. I shouldn't say that this is a massive proletarianization effect. Proletarianization meaning you're becoming a worker rather than an owner. Mm-hmm. But it's growing. And yes, so, well, anyway, we're kind of revealing all that might be discussed. What I'm hoping is that those of us in the audience who feel this is a pressing problem will come and hear Dr. Connie Bartlett. She is going to be touching on these many aspects. There are obviously still more that we haven't touched on. But it affects us deeply that we cannot find doctors. I recently was referred to a pulmonologist because I had a kind of a sketchy chest x-ray, and I was told I would have to wait 2 months. And I thought, well, you know, if I've got something really terrible, I don't want to wait 2 months.
Right.
And the secretary, whoever, said, well, I could try to give you some other names. Right. So
blank face.
Yeah, well, and actually, it does turn out that you really want people who are working with your other doctors. So I actually looked into that a bit. So I go to Saddleback Memorial Care. The other pulmonologists are at Mission Viejo Hospital or other, and they aren't in conjunction. They don't work in conjunction with the doctors I have here. So it's a pretty big problem.
All right. Well, hopefully some solutions will be provided. Your meeting is Tuesday, June 3rd.
That's right.
7 p.m.
There are some
7.
solutions.
Okay.
So you need to come and hear the solutions.
All right, Suzanne from Concerned Citizens, thank you so much for bringing this to our awareness and joining us today.
Thank you for your excellent question.
Thank you. We'll be back after these messages. You're watching This Day on Village TV.